She was, without question, one of the most talented female aviators of her time.
In the late 1980s, here at the museum, we started to hear stories about this young woman from north of Moorhead that grew up around here and went on to become one of the best-known aviators in the United States in the 1920s and early 1930s. There was an enormous amount of interest in aviation at the time. Lindbergh did a series of stops all over the country, including in Fargo, and he was part of a parade and went down Broadway, and Florence was there to see him go by. And she later wrote that when Lindbergh went by, she waved at him, and he didn't wave back, and that kind of cheesed her off. And she said, well, I'm going to show this guy, I'm going to become a pilot.
She was particularly bold and daring, and she would never let men try to put her in her place, to try to make her play by their rules, the rules of that era.
She's such a death-defying gal. Everything in her early life, her later life, seems to show that. I really think that if Florence was alive today, she'd be involved in extreme sports. She'd be base jumping or wingsuit flying, these kinds of things. That's just the type of woman that she was, and there were a lot of other women at the time that were like that.
You know, Amelia Earhart in the early 1930s, she was certainly famous, but she wasn't necessarily the most accomplished of these women. There were other women flying with her, and they were just as bold, they were just as brave as she was, and arguably they were even more talented in a cockpit. And Florence was absolutely one of those women. Objectively speaking, Florence was a more skilled pilot, at least when it came to speed racing.
There was a lot of controversy about Florence taking part in this race against men. A lot of men, particularly in the country, thought that there was no place for women in racing or in aviation generally. But pilots knew that Florence was a very capable pilot. The two male pilots who were expected to win were fighting it out for first and second. But Florence, it was pretty clear by the second or third lap that she was either going to be in third place or in second place at the end of this race. She was flying a beautiful race.
Whether she would have won or not, if she had finished third that day and landed safely and been able to tell the crowd all about it, who knows what might have happened next for Florence Clansmith. The way she was treated, the way they handled her death in Chicago, blaming it on her effectively, questioning her stamina, questioning her abilities, is infuriating. It's wrong. It's disrespectful to not just a great woman, but a great aviator, a really, in my opinion, iconic American who's been forgotten. You know, we can't change that. We can't change what happened in 1933. But we can remember her for the person she was. And we should remember her. You know, we have named streets after Amelia Earhart and built statues after Amelia Earhart. And all of that is deserving. Amelia deserves all of that. But Florence deserves it too.